Hi guys, welcome back to Wentworth Life, the YouTube channel that talks all things Wentworth. If you're new to the channel, then hit that subscribe button right now for all future updates. And of course, if you stick around till the end of the video, I will be responding to some of your lovely comments from a previous video. And just a gentle little reminder to let you know that this video will contain spoilers, so approach with caution. Okay, so I can't quite believe it's been a week since the first episode. Time really is flying, isn't it, guys? So, so last week the episode ended with Lou Kelly losing a finger. And Ferguson has passports for her and Grace. So what happened next? Well, quite a lot. So let's start with Mari, shall we? So the episode starts with Mari being taken to see her lawyer by Miss Miles and another officer. And while she's being taken down the corridor, all the women are there baying for her blood. Mari is literally hated by everyone, the women and the officers, especially the officers like Miss Miles who were involved in the siege and taken hostage. And I'm wondering whether if Miss Miles purposely left the women there to have a go at Mari, because Miss Miles literally hates Mari and she's gone very tough recently. But anyway, Mari is then told by her lawyer that because the Attorney General had died in last week's episode, her deal breaker with the police is no longer happening. So it means now that everything's gone kaput and she's going to be fully charged with everything. She's looking at life in prison. It's kind of like giving candy to a baby, then taking it away. And pretty much there's nowhere left now for Mari to go. This is it for her. So she's taken back to protection. She spots on the way down that she sees Ruby having a meeting with her lawyer. And the pair of them exchange eyes. It's very, very cold. And Miss Miles literally tries to wind up Mari, saying that she'll be getting on parole soon. So, quite dangerous, Miss Miles, I've got to say. I mean, Mari smashed in the doctor's head, don't forget. She can lose at any time. So, all Mari wants to do now is to finish off Ruby. And it's been the story all along since Mari came into the show in Season 6. She wants to avenge his son's murder. And Mari is going to try everything in her power to try and get her killed. She has nothing left to lose now. This is it for her. So later on we learn that Mari is nagging Jake to have a meeting with Mr. Jackson, but Will really isn't interested at all. I think Will is being a little bit unprofessional at the moment, but I'll go on to explain a bit more about that in just a sec. So Vera, because Vera is a lot more professional, let's face it guys, she decides to go and see Mari. And this is quite a really good scene, and I mean, this is the first time that Vera has seen Mari come face to face with her since the siege. I mean, even when Vera is heading down to the protection unit, she's having flashbacks from those moments. So when Vera gets to see Mari, Mari basically tells Vera straight that she wants back into General and to ask Mr. Jackson. But Vera basically tells her that there's no hope, she's hated, and she's got no hope in hell in getting into General. No hope in hell. And Mari completely loses it and starts screaming out that she will fucking destroy Will and his career and everything. Watch out, Will. So basically, at this point, we are all led to believe that Mari is going to end up telling the police or somebody about her and Will's affair. Because in the next scene, Mari is seen making a phone call and is then interviewed by the police. So us, as a viewer, we can't see what's being said in this interview. So it's all very tense. And the police are heading to Mr. Jackson's office, with Vera escorting them, and which, by the way, Vera does say earlier on to Will that just to deny it if she does tell the police, and that she will back him up 100%. But Will turns around and said that he's willing to take it on the chin and just confess if it does come out. So when the police do enter his office, they say to Will that Mari has made a serious allegation. And when he asks them, so what has she said, they turn around and they say that they need to talk to Ruby Mitchell over the murder of Danny Winter. I like what the writers did, and the trailers. They led us down a different garden path to what was really going to happen. That's what I love about Wentworth. Just when you think the trailers reveal a lot, it doesn't reveal nothing at all. I absolutely love it. So Ruby's interviewed by the police, and they show Ruby the CCTV image of the killer, which shows the tattoo on the back of the neck, which Ruby did have. But if you cast your minds back to season 6, Rita used a really hot spoon to try and burn off the tattoo, which it ended up leaving Ruby with a nasty looking scar instead of the tattoo. But the police ain't stupid, and they see the scar when they have a look at it, and the male police officer is pretty much like, how convenient. But a bit of fast talking from Ruby. She tells the police that it's a scar from her car accident from a long time ago. Remember that flashback scene when she was being chased by the police, i.e. Rita, and that's why those two fell out for a while. And so very fast talking. And not only that, something which she could have said, she didn't say it, but she could have said that last year, well, I say last year, it was about 3-4 months ago, she had a brain operation when she had a brain aneurysm. So that was very fast talking from Ruby. I'm very impressed with that. So anyway, she gets away with it for now. But the police do go straight to Mr. Jackson, and they want to see Ruby's file. Because her file does have in the file that she has the tattoo. All her tattoos are labelled in that file. But Will manages to put off the police by saying that they will need a warrant. So that puts the police off for a little bit, and Will then goes straight to Ruby to find out the truth. But he doesn't get anywhere at this stage. Ruby just totally denies it. He then goes through Ruby's file. Sorry, I had to think then what was going on. So yeah, he then goes through Ruby's file, and he sees the information that the police would need to charge Ruby with the murder. So eventually Ruby does admit to Will in the yard that she did it, and she tells him the full story, tells him that he's a rapist, and when she punched him she didn't mean to kill him, it was an accident. So a little bit later in the episode, Mr. Jackson decides to change Ruby's file. But just before he has a chance to print it off, the police are back. They have their warrant and they are headed straight for his office. So he quickly gets it printed out, but then Vera walks in. A really, really tense scene. I love this scene. So Vera sees the file. She sees what Will has just done, and Vera now knows what's going on. And at this point, we don't know what she's going to do. But she takes the file to the police, and we still don't know what she's going to do. But we learn later on that Vera did help Will and Ruby, and she even says in the episode that she did it really for Rita. And I just love all these little things that happened back in season 7 that join up in this episode. I mean, if you remember, Vera and Rita really bonded in the last season when Vera took Rita to the hospital, and plus Rita tried her best to save everyone in the siege too. She helped get rid of the siege and set up the Attorney General. So there's a great bond between those two. I can't wait for Rita to come back and continue that bond. So it's all bad news for Mari, and the police tell her that they won't be charging Ruby for the murder of her son, and she ain't happy. She goes nuts and she ends up smashing up her cell. Now, literally at this point, that is it. There is nothing more she can do. She's locked away in protection. She was hoping that Ruby would get charged with the murder, which would mean that Ruby wouldn't be going anywhere for a very long time. She'd be stuck in Wentworth, which would give Mari loads and loads of extra time to try and get to her to finish her off. But time is literally running out, and that was probably the last card that she could play. So Will eventually ends up going to see Mari in the protection unit, and I literally love how cold this scene is. I mean, you can clearly see how much Will hates Mari at this point. The hatred that he has for her is oozing out of her, and it's such a dark moment. And Mari is so damaged at the same time, and it's just so powerful but painful to see. He tells Mari that he thought everyone could be redeemed, but that he was wrong. She cannot be redeemable, leaving Mari even more broken and in tears, if that's even possible at this stage. And now don't get me wrong, I am not a massive lover of Mari, but there is a small part of me that feels sorry for her at this point. I know she is responsible for the siege, but come on guys. There has to be some sort of professionalism in this prison, surely. I think the only person who has been professional is Vera. It's clear that Mari needs help. Like, I don't even know why at this point she isn't even having meetings with Dr. Miller or something. Like, what the hell is going on? It's like they're all trying to drive her to suicide or something. But anyway, enough is enough now. Mari's final stab at getting Ruby is gone. So, in a very tense and dramatic scene, Mari is given permission to use the gym in protection for 30 minutes. And as soon as she's left there, she grabs a load of weights and equipment and puts them against the gym door so nobody can get in. She then loads up a very heavy bench press. She gets underneath this bench press and, yes, you guessed right, she's about to try and kill herself. She lifts up the bench press and drops it on her chest, ouch, before rolling it slowly onto her neck, instantly choking and crushing her neck. So when the officer in the CCTV room spots what's happening, is it too late? Well, this officer raises the alarm and Mr. Jackson gets onto the scene, breaking back into the gym, and he starts CPR on Mari. Now, I know a lot of people are probably wondering, why didn't Will just leave her die, why bring her back? But you've got to remember, he went to a very dark place back in season 6 after what he did to Ferguson. He still thinks Ferguson is dead. And believe it or not, Will is one of the good guys. He has a job to do. And while he's doing CPR on her, you can see in his face that he is not enjoying it. But Mari does come back to life. She comes back to us, she starts breathing and coughing, and then Mr. Jackson just leaves her with the other officer while the ambulance is coming or whatever, and he just leaves the gym. And then the look on his face at this point just says it all. It's like he hates Mari for what he did to the women, but he also wants to protect the women, and unfortunately Mari is one of the women. Now, I think Will is going to be battling a few demons in the next upcoming episode, and now hopefully Mari can now get the help that she needs for now. So, now I know a lot of people have been saying over on Facebook that they are getting bored of the Mari storyline trying to kill Ruby, and I can see where they're coming from, but I really enjoyed this part of the storyline in today's episode. There's so many layers to this storyline that we just don't know what is going to happen next, so I'm really enjoying it. Anyway, that's enough of Mari. I'm now going to move on to Lou Kelly and Reb Keane. Okay, so Lou has lost her finger. No, beg your pardon, she had her finger sewn back on. Ignore me. So she did lose a finger and now it's been stitched back on, which is good. But her hand is a little bit out of action at the moment. Now, I absolutely love these two new characters. But I love them more when they're on screen together, having their couple moments. Like, I really do feel that Lou and Reb actually do love each other. This is true love. They've both come from awful backgrounds. They found each other in a horrific therapy place that they were sent to, and they connected. Now, during the episode, we have a few flashback moments. So the first flashback comes when Lou and Reb are out in the yard. They're doing a little bit of a hustle betting game with the women to make some extra money so Lou can buy a phone. So during this first flashback, we are taken back to Lou and Reb at this therapy place, and Lou is showing Reb how to do the hustle game for the first time, and she's showing Reb how to suck the customers in and then how to place the pea hiding underneath her finger. And during the scene, we see the pair for the first time get really close, and it's just really nice scene. And then during the second flashback scene, which comes a little bit later in the episode, it shows us how Lou and Reb escaped the therapy place. Now, it's not what I once thought, because in last week's episode it showed Lou saving Reb from the electric shock therapy treatment, and it showed them both running out of the room. But in this flashback, it's nighttime and Reb is sleeping, still in the therapy place, but she's asleep, and Lou is waking Reb up, saying that they both need to make a run for it. Something big is going down, and it looks like that there's a fire going on in the building. It then cuts to them both running out in the field, and they're both looking back at the building, and the building is on fire and it explodes. Now, it wouldn't surprise me if it was Lou that started this fire. But what makes this slightly worrying is that before this second flashback scene happens, Lou is in the cell with Reb, saying that these women don't know who they are dealing with. Lou the fire starter. Now, I think the writers so far in this episode, I've kept Lou a little bit tame, just for this episode, building her up as a character by herself and with Reb. It's almost like we're getting to see two sides, but I've got a feeling that this other massive side of Lou is coming and not too far away, because during this episode, Boomer works out what Lou and Reb are doing in this scam. So Boomer literally wants to make a bet on the game, the hustle game, and during the hustle game, Boomer grabs Reb's hand, turns it upside down, and shows to the women that the P is underneath her finger. So this means it's an end to the scam, now that all the women know, and Boomer, she gets a bit big for her boots, and she starts to poke a lot of fun, serious fun, at Lou Kelly. And I'm really, really worried for Boomer. I think Lou is really going to hurt Boomer for what she has done. Not only for wrecking the scam, but for trying to humiliate her in front of the women, and it's not going to end well for Boomer. Leading on, I think Boomer's going to get very hurt, and it's going to lead to an almighty war then between Lou and Ali. I can literally see it happening, and the writers have slowly started making us fall in love with Lou. But once her full nasty streak comes out, and she starts causing some serious damage to the characters that we already love, I think our opinions are going to change on that one. Watch this space. Cool, so moving on to Anne Reynolds for a bit. So we've learned a little bit more about this untrustworthy character. Now I still don't know what Anne's agenda is at the moment, none of us do, but I do not trust her. So she ends up talking Vera to come out for a night out, a long overdue night out to celebrate her coming back to the prison. Which does lead on to some very cute scenes with Jake and baby Grace while Jake is babysitting. But anyway, back to the night out. So Anne is pretty much trying her hardest to get Vera drunk. And she buys some very strong cocktails followed by a load of strong shots, and she starts fishing for information from Vera about Will and about what happened between her and Jake. Now this just reminded me of that moment way back in season 2 when Ferguson got Vera drunk in order to get information out of her, and I was just getting very similar vibes. I don't know what you guys think, but I was getting very similar vibes here. And but there was actually a really, really funny quote in this scene in regards to Vera's breastfeeding. And Anne literally just says to Vera to pump it and dump it, which I do think was hilarious, because Vera's still breastfeeding, but Anne's trying to get her drunk, isn't she? Anyway, I just love Wentworth for these one-liners. So as the night goes on, the pair of them are drunk, but they're having a brilliant time, and Vera is trying to keep check on baby Grace, and she's texting and ringing Jake, but everything's fine. Everything's fine with baby Grace. Or is it? Hold that thought just a moment. Still in the party now, two guys join Vera and Anne on the dance floor, but Vera decides to head to the bathroom, leaving Anne with a very attractive looking man. And when Vera comes back, Anne is nowhere to be seen. So when Vera leaves the club, she sees Anne and the attractive guy up against the wall, having a very good time, shall we say. Yes, not very classy, but a good time. So it's looking like that the writers are showing us that Anne Reynolds is a bit of a wild one outside of work, a party girl. But is there a reason for this? Hold that thought, as I will be discussing that in just a moment. So Vera heads home, and Jake's been babysitting baby Grace. He's been reading her a story, putting her to bed, and to be honest guys, it's just too cute to handle. But the cameraman who was filming these scenes, he literally enjoyed teasing us with that open bedroom window though, didn't he? I was so nervous with that bedroom window open that whenever Jake left the room, I was like, oh my god, he's going to come back and she's going to be gone. And but anyway, there was a really tense scene when something outside the house smashes on the floor, and Jake goes to investigate, still with that bloody window open, and he goes outside and he hears a noise in the bush. And what does he find? A very drunk Vera literally having a wrestle with one of the bushes and being sick. Anyway, all is well. Vera comes back. She has a little nose at baby Grace. She tells Jake off for leaving the window open, but no harm has been done, and all is well. And it's looking like that Vera will let him babysit again, So, phew, I am happy. I really didn't want anything bad to happen while Jake was babysitting baby Grace, because Vera and Jake, they're on good terms at the moment, and I like that. I don't want that ruined for the moment. I know it's going to get ruined when Fergie comes back, but shall we just, like, keep it nice for the moment? So anyway, it's the next day, and Vera is looking a little worse for wear, a little bit rough. Anne is looking fresh as a daisy, making me think that maybe Anne wasn't having as many drinks as Vera. I know Anne was having shots, but that could have been water. Either that or Anne is just hardcore and she can handle her hangovers. Anyway, this is a very interesting scene because Anne asks Vera, how is baby Grace? To which Vera replies that she's fine. But then Vera goes on to say that if anything were to happen to baby Grace, you know, she doesn't know what she'll do. And then there's a really awkward pause for the moment, and the camera pans to Anne Reynolds, who ends up just like looking down at the table. She's looking a little bit sad for the moment, but then Vera quickly apologises to Anne. She's like, I'm sorry Anne, I really didn't mean to mention, I'm sorry, I'm really, really sorry. And this makes me think that Anne has suffered the loss of a child at some point in her life. I don't know if it's a young child, a baby, or even an older child, but it's looking like that she has lost a child. And there was a moment that makes me think that there's a lot more to this storyline that meets the eye. It's gonna progress, definitely. They wouldn't mention it otherwise. And it's making me think, who is Anne Reynolds? What is she hiding? If she has sadly lost a child of her own, what happened? This episode is definitely making the Anne Reynolds character a lot more interesting, a lot of depth, and I'm very intrigued to learn a lot more about her. The writers are doing a brilliant job in just revealing bits each episode, and I do have a sneaky suspicion, and it's just my opinion, that she could be helping Ferguson, because someone is. Somebody's helping Ferguson, somebody's getting the passport, someone's leaving money in the box, and yeah, someone's helping Ferguson, and I think it could be Anne. Which brings me on to Ferguson. So, the episode as a whole didn't feature a lot of Ferguson until towards the end of the episode. But we knew she was always there. I mean, weird things were happening throughout the episode. I mean, there was Vera in her driveway with baby Grace, and as she's reversing out of her drive to go to work, somebody's left a bin right outside her driveway, so she has to get out and put the bin away, leaving baby Grace on her own in the car. So yeah, we know that she was always there. Someone's watching from a distance kind of feeling. But anyway, Ferguson pops back up in a very chilling scene at the petrol station. So Vera needs to stop off to get petrol for the car, and when she finishes, she goes to grab baby Grace to take her in with her to go and pay. But baby Grace is fast asleep, and Vera literally, she can see that there's nobody around. She doesn't want to disturb baby Grace. She's literally going to be like 30-60 seconds tops. So she locks the car door and runs in to pay. However, there is Ferguson sitting in the bus stop just across from the petrol station. She creeps over to Vera's car and she's looking at baby Grace. Of course, there would be a problem now with the card machine, keeping Vera at the checkout a bit longer and creating an even more tense scene. And Ferguson is literally, she's got her hand on the car door, she's about to open it, even though it's locked, but yeah, she's then stopped and confronted by that homeless guy. Do you know the homeless guy who we met in the first episode? His name was Joe. Well, basically, he has followed Ferguson, and he's asking her information about his friend Kath Maxwell. He knows something isn't right. And so this interrupts Joan, and Joan says that she has to go and make a run for it because Vera's heading back to the car. So anyway, Ferguson makes her way back to her little off-road hideout before being smashed over the head with a crowbar and falling to the ground. So that homeless guy has followed Ferguson and attacked her, smashed her over the head with a crowbar, and he steals money from her jumper, and he makes a run for it, leaving her for dead. And I'm not being funny, guys, Ferguson literally has got a ton of blood pouring out of her head, like serious amount of blood. Like, she looks dead. She literally looks dead. But a dog walker comes, finds her lying on the ground. So he makes a phone call to the ambulance and checks for a pulse, and he confirms that she is alive. So she's not dead yet, guys, but I know the rumour mill has been doing the rounds that Ferguson will apparently lose her memory this season. So it's looking like that this could happen. It's probably looking highly probable, but it wouldn't surprise me if Ferguson literally takes on the new role of this character, Kath Maxwell. However, with amnesia, if that's what she gets with a bump on the head, don't they normally lose a lot of years, and they think it's like 10 years ago type of thing? I could be wrong. Let me know in the comments box below. But yeah, I'm not sure if she'll take on the role as Kath Maxwell. I do think she may lose her memory. I don't know how it's going to pan out, but it's not going to be too long before she gets another bump on the head, and then she'll probably get her memory back. And this is going to create a great path, a great pathway for flashbacks that we could get in this season. Flashbacks to when she was an officer with Gianna again. We could even see fresh scenes that we have never seen. We could have flashbacks to when she was governor. We may even get some B. Smith flashbacks. How amazing would that be, guys? So, but yeah, there wasn't much of Rita Connors in this episode. Only one scene. And the scene involved her being told that even though the Attorney General is dead, she still has the opportunity to put those 2 other cops behind bars when she goes to court. So Rita is staying in protection for the moment with her shadow bodyguard, who I still do not trust. But let's hope for more scenes with Rita next week. I mean, I have been reading a magazine article which includes a storyline that's happening next week, and Ruby and Rita's father is going to end up in hospital very ill. So will we perhaps see Ruby allowed to the hospital to visit her dad? But will this put her in danger? And even worse, will she bump into Kath Maxwell, aka Joan Ferguson? Interesting. Anyway, I really enjoyed this episode. It still had lots of stuff going on, some really fast-paced moments to keep the storylines moving, but some also very, very well slower paced in other places. There's a good mix of drama and funny one-liners going on at the moment, which I absolutely love. So let's have a quick look over on Twitter and see some of the fans' reactions. We've got, like, this season is fucking wild, I love. We've got OMFG, Wentworth. We've got, however, that would actually shock me if... so she's basically saying, can you imagine if she died after bringing her back? And Nicole De Silva fans are saying, however, that would actually shock me, so I doubt it. We've got OMG. We've got, oh no, not Mari. Oh Lord, I didn't see that come in. Oh shit, Mari, she dead. Fuck, blah, blah, blah. These final 5 minutes have been hectic. So, all in all, great reaction from everyone. So, let me know in the comments box below, what was your favourite moment in this episode? I think, for me, it was Drunk Vera. I loved seeing Vera drunk, stumbling in the bushes, coming home after her night out. I just loved it, and I know we've all been there in that situation, and it's always great to see our favourite officers out of work, out of their authority, and just behaving like the rest of us. So that's why I love it, and I love Vera as well. But let me know in the comments box below, what was your favourite moment from this episode? And talking of comments, it is now time for some comment replies. So, we have Freebird77. Thank you to you for the hard work. We love Wentworth life. Oh, thank you, Freebird77. To be honest with you, I don't see it as work. I absolutely love doing what I'm doing, and it's just a pleasure to be able to do this for you guys, and I'm glad you're enjoying, so thank you again. And we've got Johnny Barr, no contest, definitely my favourite channel on YouTube for sure. Well done, and keep it up, really love the content. Oh, cheers, Johnny Barr. Me and you and our Facebook buddies as well, and I'm really glad that you enjoy the channel. Like I said, I'm going to keep it going for as long as I can. There's no ends to this channel for the moment. We've got 10,000 subs, let's get another 10, yeah? Cheers, John. We've got Puss in Boot 2516. Hi Wentworth Life, it's fantastic that your channel has grown so much. You deserve it. 10,000 subs is amazing. Thank you, Puss in Boots. It is absolutely amazing. I never thought we'd get to this many subs, but here we are. So let's keep it growing. And we've got Darcy Porrett. There is a 2-second clip in the season trailer that shows Lou attacking Ruby in the shower block. Looks interesting. Yes, Darcy, I've seen it as well, which hasn't happened. I'm wondering whether if Mari... now that she's been saved, maybe she went to Reb, didn't she, and asked Reb to kill Ruby. Reb said no, maybe Lou will now. Because Boomer's put a card wash on her little scam, Lou's scam, isn't she? So maybe this would be the only other way Lou can think of earning that money. So yeah, anyway, thank you for your comment, Darcy. Then we've got Adam. Ferguson cannot be dead because that was a shit ending for her. I have to agree, Adam, that would be a shit ending. And safe to say, she's not dead. She's not dead. She's back, and she's going to cause havoc, even with a memory loss, if that's what happens. So thank you for your comment, Adam. And we've got Susan Walker. Will Maxine Conway return to Wentworth? Susan, I have absolutely no idea. I would love to see her come back, even if it's just to visit Boomer, towards the end of the season run maybe, just to let us know that Maxine is okay and how she's been doing. But yeah, no idea. I really, really hope they do, but I literally don't know. But thank you for your comment, Susan. And thank you all for your lovely comments. They are coming through thick and fast, which I am loving, so keep it up, guys. So the preview for next week's episode, we've got Judy Bryant entering Wentworth for the first time, a new inmate who has been arrested for leaking top official government reports. We also have Mari having some sessions with Dr. Miller, thank God. I mean, it only took her to nearly kill herself for this to happen. And we have Reb starting to lose himself. So in today's episode, we learn that he's still not having his medication because he's on medication because he's transitioning. So I think that's going to play a part in next week's episode as well. And that was just from the trailer. Let's just wait and see what happens next with this Ferguson storyline. It's going to be bloody epic. So if you've made it this far into the video, then thank you all for watching, guys. It is appreciated. There are some new videos coming your way very soon, so make sure you have that subscribe button turned on. So take care, everyone. I will see you all very soon.